This here is Gus, and Gus's guardians think he might have a resource guarding issue. I've talked to the guardians about it. I don't actually think it's resource guarding. I think it's just that he thinks that he is in charge, and the cats are doing a lot of things that he doesn't think are cool. So he's trying to correct them. Now, this is a video where I'm gonna teach you tips and tricks to stop a dog from resource guarding its own food or human food, just in case, but again, I don't think this is the case here, and I'm gonna explain why. So the cats actually, when the humans are eating dinner here, the cats actually get up on the table. And the dog starts growling at the cats and barking at the cats. Now, the other day, one of the kids in the house was opening up some chicken or something like that, and it was in a can, and the cat came in and he held the can down, and the dog went over and barked and attacked the cat, the mom said. Now, I asked the mom about it, and the cat was actually in the dog's mouth, but the dog did not do any damage. That tells me this is really not resource guarding. A dog that's resource guarding will absolutely bite. It'll bite its guardians, it'll bite anyone, and it's usually when it's in possession of standing over it. Usually a dog looks like this. If I'm eating my food, someone goes by, and they got their head snapping to the side, and it looks very vicious. And if you come towards them, they will absolutely bite you. Now, some of the other things are, just friendly or just coincidental. If a dog is eating and another dog approaches them, food is an important resource for dogs. And a growl is a warning. I disagree with what you're doing. A lot of people think a growl is aggression. It is the opposite of aggression. It's saying, I don't want to be aggressive, but you're doing something I don't like, and so I'm warning you. The same way that humans warn by, hey, back off, or whatever the case may be. So if a dog is eating and another animal comes within 7 feet of them while they're eating, it's natural and appropriate for the dog to growl. It's saying, hey, back off. So I would come up with a couple of structural things. So I'm going to go over tips and for actual resource guarding in a minute. But what I would say is, when the humans are eating food here, the cats should not be on the table because it's inappropriate. We also have some kids in the house, and sometimes the kids will put the cat up on the counter and they'll feed the cat by hand. Well, these are food prep areas. This is not appropriate for cats to be here. Also for dogs, for animals, the higher they sit, the more rank or social status they have. So the cat gets to sit up high in a place the dog can't get to. And the cat is like rewarded like he's, Caesar getting fed grapes by their servants. Well, the cats are like really getting all this prestigious stuff, and the dog's like, man, I'm bigger than the cats. Why am I not getting any of this good stuff? And it can create a rivalry or a jealousy. Now, I think for his case, I asked, when we started off the session, what rules he has, and the guardian's like, really doesn't have very many rules. And so we went over rules and structure as well as ways to reward the dog for desired actions and behaviors. The more that we do this, you want to go outside, buddy? Let's finish this video and I'll let you go outside. One of the rules is he has to sit at the door before I let him outside. Now that's he's very much telling me he wants to go outside. If he does actually SIT, he doesn't know this rule yet, but there we go. So as soon as he sits, go ahead, buddy. I would like to have the dog in the video, but in this one we're really going to be working with the dog anyways, and he did what we wanted. So as soon as he sat down, I opened that door. After a while, he'll start sitting to ask to go out the door. But that's not the purpose of this video. All right, so for when a dog is eating, he should eat after the humans eat. Now, if the humans are going to actually go out to eat, maybe they just put food in his bowl. We guard it with the third escalating consequence that I described off camera. And then the human that's feeding would grab a chip or a cracker or a halo or whatever it is and eat something in 5 or more bites. Then we give the dog permission to eat. Now, I use passive training to teach the dog a command word to eat. I have 4 dogs. I say grub, chow, feast, and eat. I didn't come up with eat because I like fun command words. So basically, when the first dog comes over and takes his first bite of food, I say the word chow. That's my dog Farley. He's the oldest dog. When he hears the word chow, there's food in his mouth. The context is chow means food in my mouth. The other 3 dogs hear the word chow, there's no food in their mouth. So to them, it doesn't mean the same context. So basically, for the dog, I would have him come over here, or stay away from the area. The human eats something first because I have more authority or rank than the dog does. And then I give the dog permission to eat. When he takes his first bite, I say the command word. And then he has up to, and then he eats as long as he's there. And as soon as the dog walks away, I pick up the bowl, I dump the empty food, the bowl out of the food out of the bowl, and put the empty bowl back on the floor. It's important to put the empty bowl back down. So I want the dog to walk by and notice it's empty, it's empty, it's empty. Right now, the guardians are kind of quasi free feeding him. They're putting food in, he doesn't eat it right away. They leave it until he eats. So what I'm saying is, look, you're going to eat when I give you permission to eat, or you don't eat it until the next meal. I've had dogs that go 3 or 4 days without eating because they're going to see who's the boss. Well, you're giving the dog 2 or 3 opportunities to eat throughout the day. If he turns his nose up, doesn't want to eat because you're telling me to eat, well, that's on you, not on me. I'm not doing anything outrageous by asking you to eat. But this helps the dogs see the humans acting like leaders, and for dogs, eating is one of the most important activities they participate in. So adding a little bit of structure to mealtime really is beneficial. So I would have the humans eat dinner first, then feed the dog after, or the humans just eat a snack or whatever, and then feed the dog. When the dog is being fed, the cat should not be in the kitchen. And this way, the dog sees that we are acting like leaders. I talked off camera about dogs are all about what they see us do. Well, usually we go to work and we work there. We come home, we're tired. And we sit down. Dogs are like, man, my humans are kind of lazy. They sit around. They're not leaders. I must be the leader. And so the more that we enforce and get the cats out of the room, the dog sees that not only are we acting like leaders, but we're preparing or we're taking care of his business and we have his back. When I'm eating, they're not letting the cats in here, so I don't have to correct them myself. The humans are going to do that for me. Now, some dogs will resource a person, some dogs will resource a location, some dogs will resource an item like food or bones or things like that. Now, when a dog, resource guarding is very natural in the dog, in nature. If I was on a desert island and I had a chicken and the other person on the island kept on scoping around my chicken, he's probably trying to steal my chicken. I'm going to defend my chicken and guard my resources, which is what dogs do. Well, they don't need to do it now that we've domesticated them. And so the way that we help the dog understand that is if the dog is growl or resource guarding, we take things from them, that reinforces it. So what I want the dog to learn is, you know what, when I have good stuff, if a human approaches me or the cats approach me or whatever, not only do they not take my stuff, my situation gets better. So if the dog is eating food, if it is a resource guarding problem, now cats are not going to be able to, we can't get cats to perform on command. I'm not a cat whisperer. So maybe I might have somebody picking up the cat and walking towards. What we would do, now I'll describe this, we can do it with walking towards the cat, holding the cat while he's eating. So maybe we walk up from whatever distance is, we stop. Now as soon as, we stop before the dog starts to feel the need to protect. That's going to be a different distance as you do this process and different for every animal. So if I'm sitting here eating and then I'm eating and I see the cat's walking up, and as soon as I stop eating and I freeze, that's my indication that's my communication to the cat, it's too close. So let's say when the cat gets to 10 feet, I stop eating and I freeze. Okay, so now we've identified 10 feet as the distance. So somebody would go over there, pick up the cat, and leave the room, and the dog goes back to eating, and then we come back and we stop at 11 feet. We stop 1 foot beyond or past what his line is. And then we just basically throw a treat into his bowl, or just on the ground, and then we walk away. And next time, we have 2 entrances right here. We're doing this because of the lighting, this position. But maybe when the dog's eating here, maybe somebody approaches with a cat from this direction. We stop at about 11 feet there and toss a treat here. And then we turn and walk away. So now when the cat approaches me, the cat's not going to take my stuff. But when the cat approaches, the best treats I've ever had just fall from the sky. I kind of like these treats, so can we get the cats to just do a loop through this little thing every time I'm eating? After a while, you'll be able to get a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer. When you can get this close, if it's a human, the dog is resource guarding its food bowl, a lot of times I get a really long spoon, and I get like some wet or some canned food, dog food, and with a long scoop, and I just plop it in the bowl when the dog's halfway through this meal. So, and eventually you can touch the dog and do all these other things. I'm not going to go through all of them. I have other videos on my website about resource guarding. If your dog is a real resource guarding, again, I don't think that's the case here. I think the dog is just trying to act because the humans aren't telling the cats to get off the furniture or off the table while they're eating, which is inappropriate. Now, we also talked about off camera about some other things about setting the dog in position to succeed. I'm not going to go into all this here. We'll go into the Roadmap to Success video, which should be below this one. But if you have a dog that resource guards, what you want to do is find out what distance they start reacting to, then recreate that situation, wait for the dog to have that resource, that location, the person, or the object, and then approach from different angles and stopping before the dog feels threatened, throwing a very, very high value treat at the dog, and then walking away. Don't wait for the dog to get it. Don't tell the dog to get it. Roll it and walk away. And the idea is each time you get a little bit closer, you might have to practice 10 times with the dog at 10 feet. And then try, the dog seems pretty relaxed, then try to go to 9 feet. And if the dog's calm, then practice at 9 feet, and then go to 8 feet. Try to do it 1 foot methodically until you get to the point where you're right there. But if you do this properly, you'll fix this problem permanently. Now, resource guarding is not indicative of a dog that's well-trained or well-socialized or under-socialized or not well-trained. It is something that dogs across the spectrum get. So if you have a dog that's resource guarding, it does not mean you have a mean dog or an aggressive dog. It just means that it's confused as to who's in charge and who's going to take care of my stuff. You never want to take stuff away from a dog that resource guards. That will impact it and make it much worse. So just use positive reinforcement. This is why I use dog psychology and positive dog training, because these solve the problems for good. So these are some tips and tricks that you can use if you have a dog that resource guards, or if you have cats that like to jump up on the table while the humans are eating dinner and the dog disagrees.